Probably not. But that's not going to stop me from talking about it. So I think most people went through a phase where they truly believed that they had some sort of supernatural ability, whether that be like a superpower or like being a wizard from Harry Potter or what have you. And trust me, I was this way too. Unfortunately, I was one of those kids who really stuck to that belief for quite a while, like going into middle school. Now, don't get me wrong, I was smart enough to know that it most likely wasn't possible that I had otherworldly powers, but I guess up until 8th grade or so, I was just really hopeful that I secretly could do stuff like fly and time travel and just didn't know it yet. I blame watching anime. Some examples of superpowers I thought I had growing up include changing the outcome of sports games. So, for a time in my life, I was convinced that I had the supernatural capability to bestow extra luck, good and bad, onto people by just focusing on certain colors and shooting the luck energy from those colors at the person. Like if I was watching a basketball game and wanted someone on my home team to make a basket, I would look for something in the room that was green, a lucky color, pretend to extract some of that invisible luck energy into my hand, and then shoot it at the player so that they'd make the shot. I was very young, okay? Don't judge. Also, I happened to be going through that phase when my hometown's high school basketball team was having a terrific season, so no wonder I thought my powers actually worked. Bending! Avatar: The Last Airbender was one of my favorite shows as a kid, and like any kid my age at the time, I tried doing the various forms of bending to, obviously, no success. Waterbending was making fancy splashes in a pool when I went swimming, airbending was blowing air on something sort of far away and actually making it move, yada yada. I actually recall one time in particular when I saw the episode where Aang tries firebending for the first time and I went upstairs to try the meditation technique Zhang teaches him, weird stance and all. Unfortunately, I had no idea my Nana was in the other room and saw me standing all weird and asked what was up, and I was just too embarrassed to explain. I gave up trying to be the Avatar after that. Ghost detection. I thought whenever I heard a high-pitched ringing in my head, it meant that a ghost was nearby and that my brain was warning me about it. Turns out I was just prone to ear infection and the noises were a side effect of that. Being able to see magic eye pictures. You know, these things. Most kids really had to concentrate to see the pictures, but I could do it instantly, which I thought made me special. Really, it was probably because I crossed my eyes too much as a kid, which, by the way, I made a comic about once, right here. Psychic powers. So, this one is the most unique because it has been the one that has stuck with me to this very day, and no, I can't predict the future, or sense your dead loved ones in the room, or any of that Robert Tilton stuff. No. However, for as long as I can remember, this specific occurrence has happened to me on a regular basis. I'm just going about my day, having a million things on my mind, when out of nowhere, my brain decides to think of, for example, an episode of a TV show that I haven't seen in years and had nothing to do with my train of thought up until that point. I don't think too much about it, really, until anywhere between a few hours to maybe a day later, that random episode will be playing on TV, almost as if my brain decided that it needed to air again. And to reiterate, this kind of thing didn't happen once in a blue moon. It happened all the time. And not just with TV episodes, it also happened with movies on TV, songs on the radio, even videos that would pop up on my YouTube feed. And I wasn't the only one who experienced this. My sister did growing up too. It happened so often for both of us that we even had a phrase for when it happened again. It happened again. Yeah, that was the phrase. Plain and simple. And for years, I was convinced that my sister and I were the only people on Earth who were like this. But when I got older, I found some forums full of people who also experienced similar happenings, yet also had no explanation. The people on there also warned about this thing called the 11s, which was when you'd look at clocks and other things with numbers on them and you'd always see the number 11 or a multiple of it, like 22 or 23. And sure enough, after I read that forum message, I started seeing 11s everywhere and have ever since. Now, look, some naysayers out there are probably going to argue that that was due to medical student syndrome, i.e., I saw a thing I had never heard of and then suddenly my brain convinced that I had to be experiencing it too. Sort of like a subconscious persuasion. And that might be true, but still it doesn't explain why the thing with the TV shows and the movies kept happening again. And it's still a thing that affects me on a regular basis. I don't know though. What exactly constitutes a superpower in the first place? Is it something that no one else has, or can it just be something that's incredibly rare? I have perfect pitch, I can whistle pretty well, I can say the alphabet backwards really fast, I can spin a basketball on my finger. Are those superpowers? Do people with rare medical conditions that drastically alter their lives and or appearances, consider themselves to be superhuman? Why do we, as a society, find the idea of supernatural abilities so amusing in the first place? Do we all want to be special? Or do we just want an escape from a mundane life that, more than likely, will be our ultimate future? And even if we had those powers, would our lives even be better than before? What about societies where everyone has powers? Would we just see those as normal since they would still be commonplace despite being so fantastical? Do we currently live in a society where not looking like anyone else or living an entirely different existence than any other living thing, or even being able to stay alive for as long as we do, is actually a superpower? And we just don't know it? Okay, that got way too deep, sorry. Anyway, yeah, I probably don't have superpowers. At least I didn't read Harry Potter until high school, so I never ran around thinking I was a wizard. That'd just be pathetic.